And we'd like to welcome you all to our brand new travel club for today. And for April, we're doing the theme of mountains. So we'll be visiting Mount Everest, the roof of the world, which will be presented by Lou. As always, I'll be there for trivia at the end. But Lou, thanks so much for presenting, and I look forward to the information we're all going to learn today.
Oh, thanks, Alex, and thanks for putting the presentation together. I'm so excited to visit the mountains of the world. I have a lot of personal interest in mountaineering. Not that I've done much of it, but I'm curious about it. Um, so I'm sure we're all familiar with Mount Everest, right? Anybody want to share like one or two facts about it? Anybody? Well, we y'all know that Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world, and it's called the roof of the world because it is that.
I couldn't
And
get on to say that. So
oh, okay. Oh, sorry about that.
that's all right, babe.
And it's in Nepal. It's on the border of Nepal and China, which is a long way from here. But we'll learn a lot about that in the video. I think what Alex is mentioning, something this is sort of special for me for really one main reason. I've never been to Mount Everest, although I flew next to it on a trip years ago. But I want to share something with you, just for a second. Then Alex will give you control right back. Um, so what I wanted to share was, hold on. Okay, it was a YouTube window, just a general YouTube window, but also my Google window. And I want to Google a simple question. And I did this with Alex this morning. What is the most famous incident ever on Mount Everest? Anybody have a guess what that might be? The most famous thing that ever happened on Mount Everest?
That when all those people died, the snow came down on them.
That's right. And you are just all over all this stuff. I could have sworn you were a tour guide there. That's
I have
that's
never been to Mount Everest, but I had a friend that used to like Howard University had at one time had a group of young people that wanted to explore mountains, and they had a club, and they happened to go to Mount Everest.
yep. Well, no, no, that's amazing actually. And do you all see this what came up on my screen? Can you all see that? That's what Ann said.
You're good.
It says the most famous incident on Mount Everest was in 1996, the Mount Everest disaster, when eight climbers, including Rob Hall, a very famous climber, and Scott Fisher, a very famous climber, and many others, died in a blizzard, that's the snow, Ann, when attempting to descend from the summit, sparking a
Mhm.
controversy about the commercialization of Everest climbing. So that was the most famous incident on Mount Everest. So look at this name here, Scott Fisher. He's an absolute rock star in the mountaineering industry. Of course, he's dead, and because of this incident. And now, what I want to go here is Wild Tech. So everybody see our website right there. Thanks,
Mhm.
thanks to Zion who actually redid the whole site. And so I'm going to go to our history, Wild Tech's history. So this is our story where we started. So I think some of you know that we started in Seattle. Our corporation's actually based in the state of Washington, although we operate in Washington D.C. And and when we started this organization years ago, the idea was to get at-risk kids outdoors. To get them mountaineering, where they learn all these great soft skills like teamwork, trust, responsibility, diligence, working hard, all that stuff, but in the context of doing a technology project while they're out there. So that was Wild Tech. That's where we got our name from 30 years ago. In fact, like 2 weeks ago was our 30-year anniversary. Our corporation, we were founded in March of 1995. So this is a really important conversation we're having. So when we tried to start Wild Tech, what's going on with that, right? Like who in the world is going to take at-risk youth, youth from troubled backgrounds on mountains to go backpacking in pretty dangerous places? And so when we tried to do that, we ended up working for a long time to try to get support for this program. And I'm going to jump to this paragraph right here. So my company, while Trinity Technology, actually built a facility on Mount Rainier, and we couldn't
Oh,
get, yeah, we couldn't get anybody, any school to support bringing kids climbing on Mount Rainier in this program. Took years. And so we started in 1992, and our first program year was 1995. So I want to read this paragraph right here, right here. It says, once the facility was completed and the program model created, the Trinity team, which was my old company, worked for 2 years to find a school willing to allow a corporation to take at-risk youth on leadership expeditions on Mount Rainier. So we'll probably learn about Mount Rainier in one of these weekly programs too, and to apply these skills to project-based learning and technology. Now, here's the key part. As a former at-risk urban youth, Scott Fisher, remember from the article we just read, the
hmm.
owner of Mountain Madness, recognized the value of the program and joined the effort. Bill Briggle, the former deputy director of the National Park Service and the superintendent of Mount Rainier National Park, soon became a major champion. So our organization, WildTech, really had three protagonists behind it: me, Scott Fisher, and Bill Briggle. Sadly, Bill and Scott are both dead now. Scott died on Mount Everest in 1996, and Bill Briggle is an older gentleman, and he passed away about 10 years ago. And Scott Fisher was supposed to lead our program in our second year in Olympic National Park. We were doing a mountain climb there with at-risk youth, and that climb was in July of 1996. And this incident
Mount
at Mount
Everest.
Everest was in May of 1996, I believe. And so he never did lead that expedition. But if it wasn't for Scott, we never would have become WildTech, and for Bill Briggle as well, we never would have become WildTech. So I wanted to share this connection that we have with Mount Everest and the most famous incident that ever happened on that mountain. All right, with that, I will stop sharing.
Lou,
Oh,
Yep.
thank you
you
for
know,
sharing that, Lou, today.
DC Public Schools. I was on that committee. I tried to get them to um, join this group because I thought it would be a good experience for our children. And I worked hard for over a year so that I left, but I never knew if they ever joined any of that. Do you know if they did?
Well, and your question is phenomenally timely, phenomenally. So in Washington State from 1995 to 2009, for 14 years, we led programs leading at-risk youth in these kind of and it was life-changing for them. We're talking about a lot of students were from migrant labor communities. They picked the cherries and the apples in Washington State. They were
Mm-hmm.
from inner city communities in Tacoma and Seattle. They were super poor rural kids, all kinds of backgrounds, and they were all melded together on this mountain. And this idea of building character in the wilderness and applying it to project-based learning and technology really worked. And it was the most compelling work I ever did in my entire life. And it's been a pain that I've been living with now for over a decade. Like, how can I ever do this work again? Because it was so meaningful. Well, guess what, Dan? WildTech is now a finalist in a grant program, including DC Public Schools. And we are proposing bringing at-risk youth from DC Public Schools into the Appalachian Mountains to do wilderness leadership training, and then students learning how to serve the community with technology during trainings we hold in the Appalachian Mountains. They all come back and they form digital equity clubs in their schools. So the reason I'm at Panera right now is that I am writing the final proposal to submit to DC government in the hope that they'll fund that. And would you help us? Would you consider helping us with this?
I would be most honored. to do whatever. I don't know if my brain is still active as it was, but whatever you would need, Lou, I would be most honored to work with you.
So, and what I need is a letter of support from the DC Public Schools for this proposal that we're submitting, and also from OSSI. Do you know OSSI and DCPS? Anybody high ranking?
No, but I know some people who might, and I'll see what I can do. I will talk to some people and see. I think it's a good idea, and like I said, this was way back, like in the '90s when I knew people, and we had worked on that. I worked digitally with Eunice Shriver and Sarge.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, that's amazing.
they were part of the people who thought that that would be a good thing for our youth and for our underprivileged, disadvantaged, mentally challenged children. And they thought that would be something good. And unfortunately, both of them are dead, and I'm half dead, but I'll see if there's anybody around that remembers any of that. And I'll look in my files and see if I still have any of those notes that we made.
Well,
Yep.
and you know who's still alive is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Well,
And
please, we're not going to go there.
well, but if he can help, so I wanted to share some with you. So why did Eunice Shriver and Sergeant Shriver, why were they so active in the outdoors? Did you know that they were friends with Jim Whittaker?
Yes.
Jim Jim Whittaker was the first American to summit Mount Everest. So this is another
Mm-hmm.
connection. This is another connection that WildTech has to Mount Everest.
Mm-hmm.
So Jim is an international celebrity, especially in the U.S., and he took the Kennedy family on all kinds of mountaineering trips in the Pacific Northwest and Canada. And Jim's twin brother is Lou Whittaker, and Jim and Lou owned the mountaineering company on Mount Rainier. It was called RMI. It's still there. It's run by his son. So all these guys are my friends because we built WildTech in the context of mountaineering on Mount Rainier. And Lou Whittaker, Jim's twin brother, also helped create WildTech. So I can get Jim Whittaker involved in this, who is the inspiration behind why Eunice and Sergeant Shriver were so passionate about this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
But
you know,
they were very, very passionate, and they were down to earth. And there were years before people actually knew who they were. I knew who they were because I was friends with. I had seen them, and I was friends with them when their brother ran for president of the United States.
oh my gosh, Anne.
And when John ran, I wasn't old enough to vote, but I was old enough to stuff envelopes and put stamps on. So
Now, how
uh,
about Robert? Were you involved in him when he
I
ran?
was involved in that too, and that's why I know so much about that family. But give me a call and I'll fill you in.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of time, so everything's got to be focused on action right now. I got
Okay.
to get this. I got to get these support letters. I'll send you an email with maybe an outline of what I need.
Okay.
Alex, I'll reach out to you to make sure I have Anne's email. Okay. All right,
Thank you
folks.
so much.
How's that for serendipity? Let's
Awesome. So let's go ahead. Yeah, because we only have such time for trivia and our video. So let's keep going, you guys. Thank you so much. So yep, Lou, take it away. Again, I'll be managing the slides.
All right. Well, thanks all. So here's your agenda, a little bit about Mount Everest, the expeditions, and trivia. So without further ado, let's rock and roll. So what's our objective today? Well, folks, let's explore the geography, history, challenges, and experiences of Mount Everest, providing an engaging and educational session for travelers and adventure enthusiasts alike. Thanks, Alex. All right, first off, the majesty of Mount Everest. Let's talk about that.
Today on the Daily Dose, Mount Everest. Located in the Malangura Himal subrange of the Himalayan mountain chain, Mount Everest holds the record as the highest mountain above sea level, clocking in at 29,031.7 feet tall. With the Chinese and Nepalese borders running across its summit, geologists have subdivided Mount Everest rock compositions into 3 formations separated by low-angle faults known as detachments, including the Rongbuk, North Col, and Kamalangma formations from Everest's base to its summit. Scant flora or fauna can be found on Everest, except certain mosses, spiders, snow leopards, Himalayan brown bears, and several species of birds at altitudes below 14,000 feet. A perennial favorite for highly experienced mountaineers, Mount Everest has 2 primary climbing routes to her summit, one in southeastern Nepal known as the Standard or South Col route, the other in northern Tibet known as the Northeast Ridge. While neither route poses significant technical challenges, Everest has stymied climbers with such dangers as altitude sickness, fast-changing weather patterns, and winds up to 200 miles an hour, as well as avalanches and the Khumbu icefall. While a series of British expeditions attempted to climb Everest from 1921 to 1924, the last sparking one of the mountain's greatest mysteries, when on June 8th of 1924, George Mallory and Andrew Irvine made a final push for the summit, never to be seen or heard from again. The first documented ascent came in 1953, when Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary became the first known humans at the top of the world. As of 2012, the Himalayan database has recorded 6,871 summits by 4,042 different climbers, while the fatality count by 2019 had surpassed more than 300 lives, making Mount Everest a high-altitude holy grail for experienced mountain climbers everywhere. And there you have it, Mount Everest, today on the Daily Dose. If you want early access to Daily Dose,
Great. Well, that was great, guys. Any thoughts about what you just saw? Sorry, folks. Can you hear me? Maybe not.
We can hear
Uh,
you. Any thoughts on the video? Any comments on the video before we go on to the next one?
Yeah. How tall did they say the mountain is? How tall?
It's 29,000 and some odd feet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty tall. Yeah,
Any other
it's
thoughts?
all right, Alex. Let's proceed. Got to make up some time. Oh, this is a good one. You know that I've heard that your body is actually slowly dying once you get above a certain elevation, and I bet we're going to learn about that in this video. So take it away, Alex.
If someone teleported from sea level to the top of Mount Everest, things would go bad fast. At an altitude of 8,848 meters, barometric pressure is approximately 33% of what it is at sea level. This means there's significantly less oxygen in the air, and our teleported individual would likely suffocate in minutes. However, for people that make this same journey over the course of a month, it's possible to survive at the peak for hours. So what can happen to our bodies in just 1 month that allows us to endure this incredible altitude? Let's imagine you're one of the 5.8 billion people living less than 500 meters above sea level. When you take a breath at this altitude, your lungs fill up with air composed of numerous gases and compounds. Most important among these are oxygen molecules, which bond to the hemoglobin in your red blood cells. Blood then circulates throughout your body, bringing essential oxygen to all your cells. But as altitude increases, the air starts to get thinner. The relative amounts of each compound remain the same well into the upper atmosphere. But overall, there's less oxygen for our bodies to absorb. And if you ascend to altitudes above 2,500 meters, the resulting oxygen deprivation can cause a form of altitude sickness known as AMS, often causing headaches, fatigue, and nausea. Fortunately, AMS only happens when we ascend too fast, because our bodies have numerous ways of adapting to high altitudes. Within minutes or even seconds of reaching altitudes of 1,500 meters, carotid chemoreceptors in your neck sense your blood's low oxygen pressure. This triggers a response that increases the rate and depth of your breathing to counteract the lack of oxygen. Your heart rate also increases, and your heart contracts more tightly to pump additional blood with each beat, quickly moving oxygenated blood around your body. All these changes happen relatively fast, and if you were to keep ascending, your heart rate and breathing would speed up accordingly. But if you stayed at this altitude for several weeks, you could reap the benefits of some longer-term adaptations. Within the first few days above 1,500 meters, the volume of plasma in your blood decreases, which increases the concentration of hemoglobin. Over the next 2 weeks, your hemoglobin levels will continue to rise, allowing your blood to carry even more oxygen per milliliter. Paired with your high heart rate, this new hemoglobin-rich blood efficiently distributes oxygen throughout your body, so much so that the volume of blood being pumped with each heartbeat can return to normal levels. Over this same time, your breathing also increases even further in a process called ventilatory acclimatization. After this several weeks of extended acclimatization, your body has made enough significant changes to climb even higher. However, you'll still have to spend additional time acclimating along the way, often climbing back down to recover before ascending even higher. Because the summit of Everest isn't just high, it's the highest place on Earth. And at altitudes above 3,500 meters, our bodies are under incredible stress. Arteries and veins in the brain dilate to speed up blood flow, but our smallest blood vessels, called capillaries, remain the same size. This increased pressure can cause blood vessels to leak and fluid to build up in the brain. A similar issue can occur in the lungs, where low oxygen causes blood vessels to constrict, leading to more leaking vessels and fluid buildup. These two conditions, known as HACE and HAPE respectively, are incredibly rare, but can be life-threatening if not dealt with quickly. Some Tibetans and South Americans with family histories of living at high altitude have genetic advantages that can prevent minor altitude sickness, but even they aren't immune to these severe conditions. Yet despite these risks, climbers over the last century have proved people can go higher than scientists ever thought possible. Pushing past their body's limitations, these climbers have redefined what humanity can adapt to.
Wow, that's fascinating, folks. Has anybody ever experienced any of those things? Maybe an airplane trip to a high altitude location? Any thoughts on that?
Mm.
When you think about it, Denver's at a mile high. They talked about once you get above, that's, 1,500 meters, or, it's about a mile. So if you go from DC to Denver, you might feel some of that. What's higher than Denver? Is there a destination higher than Denver? I once we did a project once in La Paz, Bolivia, and the airport in La Paz, it's the highest large airport in the world. It's over 14,000 feet when you land, and I almost fainted. I got off the plane. I went from sea level DC to getting off the plane at 14,000 some odd feet, and I had to very quickly find a chair because I was about to go down, and that happens to a lot of people when they land in La Paz. Uh, so that's my story. Or even Pikes Peak. You ever hear of Pikes Peak and outside of Boulder, Colorado? You can drive your
Mm-hmm.
car up to over 14,000 feet. And I don't feel comfortable. I did that once and I didn't feel real comfortable being up there. Felt like I was running out of oxygen.
Oh my, I can only imagine, Lou. But
Yeah.
it was interesting. Anything is possible. So even those 200 humans didn't need any supplemental oxygen going all the way to the top. So, humans are an amazing creatures.
Yeah. All right. Ooh, Sherpa. This is exciting.
Yes,
So let's learn
some
about
culture.
anybody know what Sherpa is? What is Sherpa?
Is that a guide or
Yeah. Or,
guide?
or a porter.
Yeah,
So
okay.
read through as much as this as you'd like, Lou. This is some
Uh,
background information.
oh, sure. Thanks, Alex. So, since ancient times, cultures around the world had sacred places. These places can be mountains, rivers, trees, or temples. Sacred places can be the most remote corners of the earth or in our very own backyard. Sacred to one or many, such places have been set aside and are worthy of great respect by all. Of the many places some people consider sacred, Mount Everest is one of them, called the goddess of the sky, or Sagarmantha. Never heard that before, by the Nepalese, goddess of mother and earth, or Chamalungma by the Tibetans. Mount Everest is revered most by those who live in her shadow, the Sherpa. So the word Sherpa is often referred to as a native people from Nepal or Tibet that is hired for climbing expeditions to carry supplies and equipment up the mountain.
Right.
Yet Sherpa literally means people from the east. So not all Nepalese or Tibetan people are Sherpas. Nepal has a population of 20 million with more than 50 distinct ethnic groups. There are only 20,000 Sherpas in Nepal. The Sherpa is a group of people who moved to Everest region over 500 years ago and believe the mountain is sacred home for an enlightened goddess. The Sherpa people are Buddhists, the primary religion of Tibet and Nepal. Very interesting. They have many gods, goddesses, and demons, and believe that these deities inhabit the nearby mountains, caves, and forests. Sherpas speak their own language and have their own customs. I didn't know that. Unique way of life. The sacred rituals and ceremonies the Sherpa perform for themselves, for the goddesses of the mountain, and for climbers on their way to the summit. An important part of many sacred ceremonies for the people of Nepal and Tibet is the rising and planting of prayer flags. Prayer flags date back over 2,000 years and have roots in Tibet, Persia, China, and India. The Tibetan word for prayer flag is dar cho. Before Buddhism came to Tibet, prayer flags were used in healing ceremonies for the sick by the Bonpo shamans. It was believed that when placed strategically around the ailing person's body, the flags would bring internal balance back to the body. Prayer flags were also raised outside to bring harmony to the environment. When Buddhism came to the area of Tibet and Nepal, the use of prayer flags was continued and elaborated. Tibetans added their own sacred symbols, mantras, prayers, and blessings to them and believe that these messages are carried by the wind to whoever is meant to receive them. Lastly, there are dozens of categories of prayer flags. I know I've seen those in movies that are used today and most commonly carry messages of goodwill and fortune. So I probably leave it at that, Alex.
Mhm.
Very interesting.
Yeah, Nepal, the Sherpas and actual people, thinking about there's actual culture in Mount Everest in Nepal, and it doesn't get talked about a lot. So thank you for reading the background information. I hope it sets the stage for this video from National Geographic, and we just learned about a bit. So I hope you guys learn even.
Oh, look at that.
The Sherpa are one of 70 ethnic groups within Nepal, and they migrated over from Tibet. Their name means Easterners, so they came over the mountains and they settled the higher regions of the Himalayas. And just by chance of living where they have, they've become connected to mountain climbing. The Sherpa culture fundamentally changed in 1953, 60 years ago, when Tenzing Norgay and Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Everest. And at this point, it went from their very rural, idyllic lifestyle to one being in the 20th century and now the 21st century. Within the span of 3 to 4 generations, they've gone from a very much agrarian, pastoral society with few things that we take for granted to a society now that has that's connected with mobile phones and the internet and jet travel and interaction between many more humans.
The changes that I saw just in the last 10 years were pretty substantial. As far as what people told me they had seen as far as change, education was a big one. Healthcare, there's a dentist there, there's medical clinics. The clothing is better. Concha Sherpa, who was actually on the 1953 expedition, he was a really interesting guy to talk to. He has seen pretty much the whole field of changes that have occurred.
Lemuno kamuda mi hotel zone hotel dola sama mikoro ma sen sa mi membugi tamati laji mikoro gilaji hotel zone changa mamu shom tubi no lemunos rolo de den sa lemuno ba di tikbe ji ka de gola ka de macha ka gola ka macha sama se jong ga chu membugi ti tikbe ji gyunos sabje nyamni.
A lot of the lamas and people who still are practicing in the region, they really lamented the fact more than anyone else, just because people are moving away from the old religious ways of life. And they told me at least that with all this endless self-gain available, people are losing focus on the purity and kind of simple life that they once had. People are losing the ability to focus on true happiness. The influx of tourism has brought a lot of money into the region, and with that, a lot of people recognize that they can go much further as far as advancement now, that they have this connection with the outside world.
I've heard some people in Namche have told me that many people from Kumjung leave to go live elsewhere in the world. Like a lot of people from Kumjung go to other countries.
Yes,
yeah.
Many people are there in USA.
Yeah.
From Kumjung.
USA, Europe.
USA and Europe and Japan. They are not satisfied with the tourism, with the small money from the tourism.
Yeah.
They want to earn big money.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to change their lifestyle, like
yeah.
being European and American like that.
At the same time, a lot of things are getting better in the region. The food is a lot more diverse, so people's diets are much more healthy. Clothing's better, building materials are safer. There's electricity, there's cell phones. You can get cell phone reception at Everest Base Camp now, which is a pretty crazy idea.
Yeah, so that's how tourism changed the lives of the folks, the Sherpas that are still there. Lou, any thoughts on it, or and our seniors?
I know for myself that story can be told just about everywhere when you have a relatively untouched community get touched by Western cultures. There's good and bad about it. How about the seniors? What do y'all think?
Well, and they were saying that there's not much tourism now because of climate change.
Mm-hmm.
The snow is, it's not snowing as much. Climate change is real.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we have y'all have a president that doesn't believe in it. Yeah, but it's real. The ice is melting in the Arctics, and it's a lot of stuff going on with climate change, I believe.
It's warmer in Alaska.
It's a few years old, so it's even like more prevalent now. This video is from about 10 or so years ago, so I can only imagine how it's kind of changed since then.
Yeah, we see that here in DC. I know the seasons are a whole lot different now. My growing season is a lot longer than it used to be, but we hardly get any snow anymore. Remember how big snows we used to have?
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be good and bad, and we've seen it in our travel clubs where relatively untouched areas are kind of influenced by the new world. So that just gave me another perspective. So I hope it did for you all as well.
Yeah.
Here goes some fun facts, Lou, so we can go through as quickly as you'd like, but I certainly learned a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do. I got to make up some time, and I do have to be on another call at 1 o'clock, Alex. So I got to make sure I end well before that. So Everest is a massive 8,848-meter tall, just below the cruising height of a jumbo jet. And does it have a conversion to feet? I know it's 29,000 something.
Yeah, 29,035. The interesting here, the Chinese declared a different height versus the Nepalese. So they
Oh,
at this point when this article came out, they were still trying to figure it out, but it's 20,035. It should be that.
okay. I wonder if it's still growing,
Oh,
because
it is.
is it
It is.
like,
Yeah, like a few,
oh, it's right there. Look at it. It's
yeah.
question three. Okay, so it's over 60 million years old. And the question three, Mount Everest grows approximately 14 millimeters every year. Well, that's 44 millimeters. So that's a lot. That's 4 centimeters. So that's like 2 inches a year. This occurs because the continuous shear of tectonic plates pushing the Himalayas upwards. That's amazing. So it grows no, that's more than 2 inches. No, that's 2 inches. No, yeah, it's a little under 2 inches.
Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
every year, a lot of, I learned a lot about that in earth science in school. So tectonic plates making, that's kind of how the geysers and hot springs and volcanoes came to be. So yeah, it's an ever-changing world.
Look at
So look, Lou, I was gonna mention this, but I was waiting for this part.
Oh, I think it's Hawaii, right? Mauna Kea. Yeah, the title. Okay, the Mount Everest isn't actually the tallest mountain on the planet. This is owned by Mauna Kea, a 10,200. It is a massive 10,200 meters tall. Okay, that's interesting. That's over 30,000 feet tall. However, the majority of Mauna Kea resides below sea level. Everest is the highest peak in the world above sea level. That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's not the tallest, but it's the highest peak. So there's actually a difference. So when I didn't know this, so I was like, oh wow, the more you know, right?
So if it was a dry planet, it would lose that distinction. Um, okay, so we are pronouncing Mount Everest incorrectly. Everest was first recognized by the Western world in 1841 by Sir George Everest. Oh, it was called Peak 15. The name Mount Everest was introduced in 1865 in honor of Sir George Everest, and therefore we should pronounce it Everest. Really? That's amazing. Pronounce
Everest. Oh,
Everest, not Everest, per the pronunciation of the British surveyors. That is amazing. Everest.
mm.
Everest. That's amazing. All right. Let's keep scrolling there.
Let's do seven. Oh my goodness.
Seven. Yeah, you got it. Actually, you know these. So it can cost between, oh my gosh, 25,000 pounds or 70,000 pounds to climb Mount Everest. So a pound is like dollar and a half or so, I think.
Yeah, something
So it's
like
like
that. So it's like 40,000.
40,000 to $100,000. Wow. The average cost of climbing the famous peak is around 50,000 pounds. So that's like $75,000. Oh my gosh. Depending on the level of support. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Kami Rita Sherpa holds the record for the most successful summits at 24. Oh my
Mm.
gosh, that's crazy. Who would do that? Oh, it's a Sherpa, I guess. So they were making money.
Oh, by a woman. Mountain guide Laka Sherpa currently holds the record for the greatest number of successful summits by a woman at a very impressive 9. Kami Sherpa was, oh wow, 20, I can't, 24. That's amazing. Like,
That
this,
is amazing. It would define the odds of getting killed and everything.
right.
So look at that. Look at that. Can you imagine spending 39 to 40 days? That's crazy. So it does not include the time trekking to base camp, which could take 10 to 14 days. The reason it takes so long to summit Everest is so the body can adjust to extreme altitude. So we learned about that.
Mm-hmm.
But the fastest summit recorded was just 10 hours and 56 minutes. What? So Lakpash Gulu Sherpa climbed the south side of the mountain in Nepal from the base camp to the top of Everest in a record 10 hours and 56 minutes. So I guess if he's a local Sherpa, he had a lifetime for his lung capacity to really expand.
Mm. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
I hope you like these fun facts, and everyone.
Yeah.
Any yeah, just also in the chat or share, is anything that stuck out to you? Any of these facts? I mean, they're all amazing. I mean, there's the formation, just it being here, and the humans that did everything is I'm speechless.
Well, you know what? I thought it would be more men doing the as a Sherpa. That was surprising that a woman was a Sherpa and leading an expedition. So that was
Yeah.
new.
And the reason they have the Sherpas is to carry the gear. So it's not just the ability to get to the top, it's the ability to get up there and carry other people's gear. I
Yeah,
mean, so you think there'd be more men who could do that. So that's a really good point.
yeah. And look how much they'd have to carry. I mean, because they're going to be up there
Yeah,
months.
right.
So
Amazing.
it's a lot of stuff that they have to, provisions and all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy.
Mm.
Okay.
Hey, Alex, I know the people from Mountain Madness, Scott Fisher's old company. I haven't reached out to them in years. I bet I can get them to host a call if we can get a whole lot of seniors on it. Maybe featuring people who've actually done this before. What do you guys think? Are you guys up for that?
Yeah, sounds
Of
good.
course, we'll talk off the call. So thank you so much, Lou, for that idea.
Yeah.
So much. So we got the creation of Mount Everest explained. So again, another version of a little history. Hope you guys enjoy.
To understand the process of what led to the formation of the highest mountain in the world, we need to go back in time. A time in which our Earth looked nothing like we know today. The continents as we have them drawn on our maps today are a mere snapshot on the geological time array. 230 million years ago, roughly when the first dinosaurs walked on Earth, our continents were all mashed up to a single supercontinent called Pangaea. Powerful internal convection cells within the inner magma layers of our planet split this supercontinent into pieces and created the second generation of supercontinents called Laurasia and Gondwana. With continuous convection cells acting on these tectonic plates, it was only a matter of time for Gondwana to also break off into more pieces. Hotspots of these regional magma movements are called plumes, and one especially large one could be found right below the eastern edge of Gondwana, in the area that will soon become the Indian tectonic plate. Between the time of 230 to 140 million years ago, the giant plume underneath Gondwana pushed, pulled and shook continuously on the plate, until finally it completely separated from the main plate. These 90 million years of convecting magma streams is estimated to have melted off the lower third of the newly created Indian plate during the process. The slimming process was one of the key happenings for the Himalayas to reach the height they have today, since it allowed the plate to be propelled at record-breaking speeds. Another 40 million years of external forces onto the newly created landmass led to the breaking off of today's Madagascar. While the newly broken piece of Madagascar stayed roughly in the same position relative to its mother plate, the African plate, India instead started a long journey through the prehistoric oceans. Within just 40 million years, the Indian plate traversed the entirety of what would later become the Indian Ocean, which is a record-breaking speed in the geologist's understanding of time. While there are different hypotheses about the actual time it took the Indian plate to traverse the ocean, most of these would make it the fastest moving plate to have ever traveled our surface. When assuming that first contact with the Eurasian landmass was made around 55 to 50 million years ago, it would give a speed of around 20 centimeters per year. As a reference, the Eurasian plate is assumed to move with around 2 centimeters per year northwards, which gives an enormous collision force. Regardless of which hypothesis will be proven true or false, even the slowest estimate makes it an astonishingly fast endeavor. From the moment of collision between the Indian and Eurasian plate, around 55 or 35 million years ago, the laws of physics have been pushed to an absolute maximum. Since the Eurasian plate was much thicker at the time of collision, it shoved itself above the incoming Indian plate, and friction forces started to fold the crust, as if you're pushing against a carpet or a sheet of paper. Due to the extremely high potential energy of the Indian plate, a simple collision, friction forces from having the edge of another massive plate laying on top, the layers are growing. From the 20 centimeters per year that were estimated for the time of first contact between the plates, scientists have measured the current speed to be closer to 7 centimeters per year. On one hand, this means that the Himalayas will keep growing. On the other hand, the trend line shows that this growth rate won't last forever. Unless the Indian plate will have a sudden and unexpected acceleration from the convection cells within the Earth's core, movements will come to a halt around 20 million years in the future. From this moment on, eroding forces such as wind, frost, and water will work tirelessly to flatten out the highest mountain range in the world again. To summarize, let's recollect the happenings and characteristics that led to the formation of the Himalayas and subsequently the Mount Everest. A strong mantle plume melted off almost half the Indian tectonic plate. After it finally broke off from Gondwana, the circulating forces from this massive plume catapulted it across the prehistoric oceans. The low mass from the 100 million years long thinning process helped accelerate the plate to record-breaking speeds. Since the Indian plate is so thin, it immediately slid below the Eurasian plate upon impact and elevated the folding edges of Eurasia. High potential energy of the Indian plate led to continuous growth over 50 million years. Since the impact of the Indian plate upon the Eurasian plate was the strongest one known to us at the moment, it is safe to assume that the Himalayas and therefore Mount Everest are the highest mountains to have ever existed on our planet.
Yep. So just
The
going back
folding
to
edges
to
of
the
Eurasia.
summary real quick, it's amazing how what we know of Pangea and Everest now came from hundreds of million years ago. You can see the progression of Earth and, some formations of countries and continents that we know, especially that bit about Madagascar and the Indian plate going all the way up and hitting that other plate to form Mount Everest. Any thoughts on this video? Anything new that you learned or just what surprised or fascinated you?
Well, what's fascinating is that the earth is still changing.
Mm-hmm.
It's still changing now. It says due to climate and natural processes and human activity. So we're still changing. So California may break off one year,
Yeah,
or Florida.
yeah.
So it's still changing.
Yeah, we may go back to this. We may move, we can see how we went there, or we could go back. We're talking about billions and billions of years, but still it will
Yeah.
change. What we know today, the Earth will not look like in even tens of millions and billions of years, which is not it's an amazing thought because just like human lives, the Earth is always changing. So we're always changing as well, right?
And maybe one other thing to add here, guys, I'm back now, and this is really fascinating, is that when we were all young, us seniors, they didn't know any of this stuff. So this is all for younger people becoming aware of, and also this whole plate tectonics thing is what allowed life to form on our planet. And
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying there is that it creates what's called the carbon cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So you have not only the water cycle where water goes from liquid to solid to gas, but carbon dioxide it gets gets fixed, gets removed from the atmosphere by plant life. And so over time, our planet would be devoid of carbon dioxide, and our planet would freeze. It would become a snowball. And historically, that has happened before, where our planet froze from pole to pole. It was a giant white snowball. It happened twice in our geologic history, billions of
Mm-hmm.
years ago, but it happened. And what thaws the earth out of the snowball is the plate tectonics, because it recycles the carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. So when these volcanoes erupt, they spew out massive, massive, massive amounts of carbon dioxide, which was all the coal and the oil that was underground gets vaporized by the heat of the earth and pumped back into the atmosphere. And there's all kinds of evidence when they had these massive volcanic eruptions before humans ever came around, that it thawed the earth out of this snowball form. And
Mm-hmm.
and had plate tectonics not existed, our planet would resemble Mars right now, because we would be a frozen wasteland of frozen water, frozen oceans, the remnants of collisions with asteroids. Uh, 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 but because of plate tectonics, it keeps the cycle going. So it's a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
thing.
When I first learned about it in middle school right here in DC public schools, I was like, it's amazing because we're still here, billions of years later. So we're all still here for a reason. So that just makes me think of that. Um,
Is
I
so
know.
many things that makes advanced life possible. It's so fragile. Like, what are the chances, right? You have to live in a planet that has tectonics. You actually have to have a planet that has a massive moon like ours. Otherwise, the Earth would be tilting on its axis, wobbling more on its axis. This the circumstances that allow life to happen in its advanced form, like here on Earth, is really remarkable and remarkably rare.
It is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Just makes you think, right? So I'm just going to go through this video, but this is the first ascent of Mount Everest in
Ooh.
1903. So hope you guys enjoy.
What's the highest elevation you've ever been? Do you even know? Maybe on top of a mountain, or it was probably on a plane. This is similar to being on top of Mount Everest, the only mountain in the world above 29,000 feet. Climbers today flock to its summit. Everest wasn't always like this. In the early 1900s, some wondered if it was even possible to reach the summit, and died trying to prove it was. Who were the individuals attempting the first ascent? And what sorts of hell did they go through to achieve it? This is the story of the first ascent of Mount Everest. In addition to making outdoor videos like this, Greenbelly also makes ready-to-eat adventure meals. Greenbelly meals are 6 tall on its southern side and China's Tibet on the northern side. In the early 1800s, Everest was just known as Peak 15.
Surprisingly, the world didn't know about the highest mountain until the middle of the
Look at your first Australian to climb Everest from sea level. So
19th century. And it's only when those measurements were calculated that it was realized this mountain in eastern Nepal was most likely the highest mountain in the world.
It wasn't until 1856, after a huge survey of India, that Everest was determined to be the tallest mountain in the world. The name Everest came after the man who had initiated the survey, Sir George Everest. They later learned that Everest actually had native Tibetan and Nepalese names. For comparison, Mount Blanc, the highest mountain in the European Alps, is just shy of 16,000 feet. At over 29,000 feet, Everest is nearly twice the elevation. This raised the question if Everest was even climbable, and at what cost to find out.
It's the world's highest mountain, so inevitably it's going to attract interest. Was it possible to go there and climb it?
It wasn't until the 1920s, after World War I, that the possibilities opened up, and the British were particularly eager. Just a decade prior, the British had lost the race to the South Pole to the Norwegians, and lost the race to the North Pole to the Americans. They viewed Everest as a third pole and a new opportunity. By 1921, British officials considered summiting Everest a matter of national importance. Access to the mountain was not easy though.
The early expeditions to Everest were from the Tibetan side via Darjeeling. It certainly wasn't possible on the southern side because that was in the Kingdom of Nepal, which was closed to foreigners.
Since the southern side in Nepal was closed, climbers were forced to pursue it from the northern side in Tibet. Between 1921 and 1935, the British launched the first of a handful of unsuccessful expeditions to summit Everest. Several died in the process. Beyond the extremely dangerous terrain, one big issue was oxygen. The thin air made it difficult for individuals to survive.
People didn't know about altitude, certainly didn't know about altitude sickness, acute mountain sickness.
Most people start experiencing altitude sickness between 8. Britain's Joint Himalayan Committee appointed British Colonel John Hunt to lead the high-stakes expedition. It was a massive undertaking. Hunt laid down a theoretical plan including everything from route planning to supplies. Their entire expedition team consisted of a whopping 400 people. Most were porters to carry supplies. Hunt ultimately decided on 10 climbers and 34 Sherpas. Only 6 would be used for actual attempts at the summit, known as assaults. Sherpas are an ethnic group native to Nepal and Tibet, who are observed to perform better at elevation. This observation was confirmed in 2010, when a super gene was found that helps them regulate oxygen more efficiently. 33-year-old Edmund Hillary made the team, an experienced mountaineer and beekeeper from New Zealand, part of the British Commonwealth. And Tenzing Norgay made the team, the most experienced Sherpa and a local from Nepal.
Yep. So just in the interest of time, I will share this on, let's see, let me try to share this video with you all as well, just so we can make sure that You all can check it out. But those are some background information on Mount Everest first ascent in 1953. So again, I highly recommend you check this video out and to learn more. But hopefully we'll maybe revisit Mount Everest once again in a later mountains session. But overall today we learned about geography, some culture, some history, some fun facts about Mount Everest. So I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot.
Well, you know, there's an article that was in a 1953 Life magazine about that expedition.
No, I didn't know that. Thank you so much, Anne, for sharing that. And I just shared, again, the video in the chat. So if you want to review some of those parts, please make sure you check this video out. Okay, you all? So we're still going to do trivia today. So really quickly, we're going to go over the raise hands for the trivia. So I'll take 2 answers for each question. Okay, so 2 answers. So again, if you would like to raise your hand, hit reactions at the bottom, and then you can click on raise hand if you would like to answer one of the questions. Okay, so again, you hit reactions at the bottom and then raise hand. And then that way I'll take the first 2 answers for each of these questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our first question today. Give me one moment. All right, to pull this up. Thank you so much. All right, you all. Make sure you get your hands ready. Oops, give me a moment, you guys. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, so our first question is going to be, make sure you raise your hand, you guys, if you'd like to answer. When did climbers first attempt to climb Mount Everest? Was it 1850, 1955, 1921, or 1898? Okay, I see we have 2 hands. Okay, we got Louise. What do you think it is? Again, Louise, you got the first hand. Which one do you think it is? 1850, 1955, 1921, or 1898? And you got to hit unmute in the middle. Okay, we'll go on to Geraldine. Geraldine, what do you think
Say
the answer?
1955.
Okay. And what about you, Louise?
I say 1850.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So again, we'll go with the 2 hands per person or per question. Okay, we got 4 more questions. So let's do 1955 and let's see what it is. Just going with the random one. So the answer is 1921. Tibet opened its borders to foreigners in 1920. So the answer is 1921. Okay. Yeah, again, something new that we learned. The next question is, what team was the first to reach the summit of Mount Everest? Was it George Everest and Tenzing Norgay, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, George Mallory and Andrew Irvine, or Reinhold Messner and Peter Abler? Which pair was the first team to reach Mount Everest? Okay, we got 2 hands. We got Yvonne first. Thank you so much.
I'm going to say Hillary and Norgay.
Okay, thank you so much. And then Ms. Brenda, what do you say?
Well, I'm guessing. I'm going to say George Everest and Tenzing Norgay.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's go with the first one and we'll see which one it is. So the correct answer is Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. They became the first to reach the roof of the world. Their climb was made from the Nepalese side. So again, good job to Yvonne. So thank you so much. Good job for that. You're in the running for a prize today. Our next question is, who was the first American to reach the summit of Mount Everest? Was it John Krakauer, Eric Weinenmeyer, David Brashears, or James Whitaker? The first American to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Again, taking two hands for this one. John Krickier, Eric Weinenmeyer, David Brashears, or James Whitaker? Two hands. Look, we got one hand. Yeah, we got two. So again, please raise your hand if you'd like to answer. Okay, Yvonne, what do you say for this one?
James Whitaker.
Okay, thank you so much. And then Brenda, what do you say?
I'd say James Whitaker too.
Okay, let's see what goes on. And it is James Whitaker. He reached the top of Everest in 1963. So it's been 62 years. Can you believe it?
Wow.
I know, right? Thank you all so much. Good job. Let's see. Our next one is, okay. All right. So the Mount Everest is part of what chain of mountains? Urals, Himalayas, Andes, or Pyrenees? What parts? Two hands. Looking for two hands. We got one hand. All right. Thank you so much. Geraldine, what do you say?
I say Himalayas.
Okay. All right. Yvonne, which one do you say?
Himalayas.
Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna go with two. I think for the last one, I'll go with three folks since you guys are participating so much. So let's see. Himalayas. And you guys are correct. The Central Himalayas is on the border of Tibet and Nepal. So we got one more. So this is three hands, okay? One more, three hands. Tibetans and Sherpas call Mount Everest Chamulongma. What does it mean? Does it mean Mother Goddess of the Earth, Queen of all peaks, Gateway to Heaven, or Peak of Majestic Beauty? So Chumulungma. What does it mean? Take the first three hands for this one, okay? First three hands, first three hands. Thank you so much. Again, we got one more hand. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Give me one moment, you all. And let's go with first up, we got Gracie. Thank you so much. What do you say?
Mother Goddess of the Earth.
Okay. All right. We got Brenda next. What do you say?
Mother Goddess of the Earth.
Okay. And then Anne, I see you. What do you say?
The goddess of the earth.
Okay. All right. So we're all in agreement to that one. So let's see who got it right. And the answer is everyone. Sherpas are a people of Tibetan ancestry who migrated to Nepal about 600 years ago. They are known for their fortitude, their ability to tolerate high altitudes, and their mountaineering ability. So congrats to you three. You all got that correct. Good job. And now we are going to finish off with our trivia for today and for our Wheel of Names. So two of you will win a WildTech fridge magnet today. So congrats to Yvonne, Brenda, Geraldine, Gracie, and Anne for answering at least one question correctly. So good job. Thank you for your participation. Our first winner today is, we got Anne for our first winner today. So congratulations, Anne. Thank you so much for your participation today. And then for our next winner, we got Miss Yvonne. Alrighty now, I see y'all. So again, Anne and Yvonne, you both won WildTech fridge magnets from us. So again, congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you so much.
participating. And thank you. I hope you guys learned a lot today. And let's all say thank you so much to Lou for presenting and sharing all that wonderful information today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Alex. Great job.
And
And
yeah,
I'll be reaching out soon, Ann.
I will see you all next Wednesday for our next mountain topic, and I'll see you all at 1:30 today, okay?
Okay.
Alex.
All right. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Lou,
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.